Welcome to Stock Therapy with Petty Queen. Today, I'm going to have the entire crew of Aduro Clean Technology here to talk to investors about everything that's happened with the uplisting and the advances we've had over the past few months. So I have CEO Ofer Vicus.
Hello.
I've got Chief Financial Officer Mina Bachet and Chief Revenue Officer Eric Appelman here. So thank you all for joining me, and I will just get right into the questions. First one will be for you, Ofer. It is with regard to the next generation pilot unit, previously called R3. Can you explain why you decided to create a smaller unit than was expected?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me and Eric and Mina, of course. It's a great opportunity to go and share whatever we want to share with you with respect to the uplist. I think it's quite a big thing. But of course, we were become aware of the questions that came, and we like to bring every question back home. So, of course, we're all here today to give that attention. So we did communicate even more than a year ago that we are going to do a ton per day unit. That is correct. And we contemplate and assess that this is the right size. And that was many months before we've done extensive testing and planning. And through that time, we've been able to optimize the size of, what should be the ideal unit, which is right now it's about a quarter. If I give it, we said 10 kJ, but this is a quarter per ton per day. So it's not so far from the previous unit. But on the other hand, this is an ideal size in our perspective to do some optimization, to work with our strategic plans, to do the scale up, to adjust it to the customer engagement program. It is large enough to appropriate the feedstock and to process to commercial process and to show it to customers. And sorry, there is a background noise. No, and it is small enough to make the changes. It is ideal system, so we can adjust the system and make the changes, but it is not large enough, that it costs so much. In fact, this system is ideal in many, many ways, in size, in scale up, it fits to our commercialization plan. We want to, if you remember, Penny, we said we have an aggressive commercialization plan. And so that system allows us to do exactly what we need to do this year in order for us to move as soon as we can next year. Imagine if we would have a very, very large system that we need to, make changes into it. For that reason, that is the kind of ideal system that we contemplate and we decide to bring on and to move on. So we don't see that at all as a departure from our plans to build a system. We see that actually we are advancing it to optimize the ideal system to match our plan. And this is, again, in the, things that we did last year. Every year we set up some goals, and every year we work to address them and to match them. That is where we are today. This is the system that will allow us to move forward.
Yeah. And maybe I can add a bit to it, Over. I think there's two things we want to do with the thing. And we would like to collect all the essential information for the big next step that we take. And we're convinced that we can do it on this machine. Then, of course, we want to make sure that we are able to prove the quality and that we make a product that people want. Well, this machine is easily big enough. And probably the most important thing is we can even engage with customers and do the sort of tests that they want. And they want to see how we can run it quickly. The other very beautiful thing, and Over, you already hinted at that, is that because it's a little bit smaller, we can actually put it right next to our laboratory so that all our precious resources are sitting on top of this machine. And that is just gaining us so much efficiency and also time and speed.
I'd like to add, Penny, that all of this system basically is all built from industrial component. And it is a feel-like commercial system on continuous flow basis. So the previous system, what we call the R2, was a technology demonstration system. This is a true pilot. It takes true waste and it produces true product. So we, in our mind, just ideal and prepare the company to the next phase.
So would it be fair to say that the new plan is just a refined version of the old plan that
Yeah.
will better allow you to
Yeah.
serve multiple potential clients?
Yeah.
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 Will it be less expensive?
Yes.
Of course.
And
Yes.
it's still made out of components that could be utilized in a larger system?
It is industrial equipment that you can buy. And so we are not looking at anything that is tailor-made for the occasion. And because that's the real thing you want to see in a pilot plant. And then from there, people know how we can scale that further. And it's not unique stuff that we're doing here.
But Penny, we do want to say this is a very novel process. It is one of a kind. It will attract the attention. We anticipate that it will create some waste because of that. It's a very, very novel process that we're coming in, and the process that we are building is quite novel as well. And so we think it is fit to purpose, very fit to purpose.
Perfect. So
If I
what
may
is
add, sorry, Penny, to
no,
cut you there
go
a
ahead,
little bit.
Mina.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
wanted to add like one key summary point that really sticks with me, right? So compared to the ton per day preliminary expectation we had a while ago, down to a quarter ton, we don't lose anything in terms of the scale up, right? This is the perfect size for us to get the data we need for the next scale up. So we're not losing anything in terms of that side, but we gain a significant amount. We reduce our operating expense for operating the pilot. We reduce our capex. We increase our flexibility and agility to work with multiple partners on a collaboration or technical evaluation. So we have a few that we've announced. We're working on a bunch more. This allows us to change feedstocks and operate at the right sized level. Rather than having to feed tons, we're having to feed a lot less. So this is really the perfect strategy. It's come from a tremendous amount of analysis and work internally and with external stakeholders and partners, engineering firms and otherwise. So this is just a refinement of our strategy, not a departure of anything that we had planned. So I just wanted to make that clear.
No way a departure. We're preparing the company for the future, Penny. So
Okay.
not a departure.
Well, then I know, Mina, you already said it, but I just want to make sure that the max processing capacity for this pilot unit is about 240 kilograms a day.
Yeah, it could be a little bit more. We'll do a little bit less. Remember, this is a development unit that we use to play with it, right, left and right. So we give you what we think is the ideal size of it, but it could be we could do process a little bit more out of it, and we for sure will process less. It's not the process capacity that needs to bother. This is fit into our need. It's the fact that we can adjust this unit to our needs, and our needs are talking to several customers, being able to adjust the testing to several customers, be able to make the changes and customize it based on those customers, being able to make changes later towards commercialization. That is what I think, and I recommend the investors will look, and not just about. We will not make money out of this feedstock, right? We will not sell the feedstock that we're doing.
So was the original plan with the NGP unit to generate revenue for the company independent of a signed deal?
So I think, yeah, I understand now where those questions were coming. So the ton per day was never meant to earn money. Our commercial demonstration unit, our future and next commercial demonstration unit, meant to earn money. The NGP here is basically large part of the job of this NGP is to work and to actually earn money from the customer engagement program. So in other words, now that if we had a technology demonstration unit, now we have an actually process like which we can customize. And our intention is to work with our customers to adjust it to their needs. We'll earn money. So yes, the plan to earn money and generate revenue, but not a commercial revenue. It's still a development revenue, but it is on a, if you will, when you think of our goals, and I can share with you again the slides of our goals, large part of our goals is to turn those customers from testing to collaboration. And that is the system that allow us to get there.
All right. And I'll say that, again, I appreciate from, I'll say, I think for all shareholders that we really appreciate that you have been executing on all the things you've been telling us you're going to do. And the last, the last announcement of Collaborator was, again, further proof that you're doing what you said. And I just got to say thank you, because it's rare in the small cap world. Not that you're really in the small cap world anymore, but I just want to say thank you.
Yeah, we're playing with the big boys now. But Penny, tonight, if somebody will meet Toolright, they'll find our teams working, Saturday and Sunday against things that we need to do. So we are all hands on deck to meet our commercialization plan. And that's what I hope investors will listen to us and understand.
All right, Ofer, what do you anticipate the cost will be for a much larger commercial reactor?
Okay, so as for the cost for the larger unit, it's a little bit premature to come and discuss it right now. But what we can say is that the current unit is within the budget, within what we have done so far today. What we also I think, can say is that while we are working on the current unit, we are already doing some overlapping work towards the future unit. So we're not waiting till the end until we get the data to, produce the cost of it. We do have some understanding of it. But to give the actual budgetary number for the larger unit, I think it's a little bit premature to say. I want to tell the investors that based on our plan right now and based what we are doing so far, and the fact that this current system is under budget and we have the money to build it, from scratch to our end, I think, we'll look into the larger unit and we'll make some assessment. At some point of time, we'll publish it. I also like to remind you that, for the larger unit, we are thinking of grants and we are thinking of customers, and it's not just us that will produce it. We don't think that we'll be all alone. And in fact, if I go back to this pilot that we are building, part of the work that we aim to do is to work with customers in order to entice that future work. And I think maybe Eric wants to say some words about it, or maybe he could add some.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to. And first, I'd like to say I've been looking at literally dozens of these steps where you go from a lab through a pilot to a commercial demonstration. We are doing precisely what every company has to do. And the pilot is also to collect those data that help you to make a good cost estimate. So we could, of course, drop you a number, but I think it would be unfair to give you that number and say this is the truth. Ofer says exactly the right thing, and we have to collect the data, then we'll build the next thing. The beautiful thing is that we are already in a stage where we are working with commercial equipment, and we can very clearly see forward how that will scale technically. I think the actual cost will come, but it's not going to be any surprise there.
All right.
Yeah, if I may add as well, I think the key component here, and this is something that we remain very confident in, is the fact that comparatively with existing technologies, other people in the space, we expect to build commercial units significantly cheaper from a CapEx standpoint. And that's, of course, ignoring the other advantages that we've essentially outlined several times before. But from a cost perspective, the infrastructure, the layout, the system, it should cost significantly less. And that is going to be a major selling point down the line.
So
but to provide clear figures is something that we're going to wait until we have, fine-tuned that a little bit more.
We can do it. Yeah, until we can do it. Yeah.
Mina, because now that you mentioned that, just let's remind our audience, that the most of the time we're looking at centralized unit. This is what we publish. This is what our peers are doing. We are talking about systems that could be modular. In scale up could be much smaller in many, many ways. Part of our strategy is to build that modular scalability and to give solutions that are not available in the market. All of that comes back to a cheaper system, a simpler system sometimes in many, many ways. Remember the simple to complex concept that we are aiming to do. So that is the background and the reasoning when investors are thinking of the cost of the unit. those are the elements I think they should consider as well when we're thinking about it.
Okay, that's
Very
that's
good.
fair enough.
Yeah.
So what is the time frame for having the NGP unit up and running?
Yeah, so we want it for yesterday to start with,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we'll probably be ready, and we're targeting to be ready at early Q3. I do want to say that while we are working to commission, to test, to build, fabricate, commission, and test the unit, so it will start producing on early Q3. I do want to say and remind investors that through that time, we are already thinking about the commercial demonstration unit. So I just want to mention to the investors that there is an overlapping activity between the current unit, the current pilot that we're building, and the larger commercial demonstration unit that we are thinking about. And so our goals is not just to wait and do things, one after the other. We're trying to minimize it and to really minimize the time as much as we can, as aggressive as we can. And again, Penny, this is all in line with what we always told investors.
I just want to clarify if you mean Q3 of the calendar year or the fiscal year.
Oh, yeah.
Q3 of the calendar year.
Thank you. I got so many questions on that.
Yeah.
Nice and I'm happy to clear that one up.
Calendar,
Okay.
Yeah.
yes, only calendar years, yes.
Okay. So you've outlined the plan to start commercialization with simple, clean streams. Are you expecting revenue from this in 2025? And if so, can we get a ballpark figure?
So, Patty, can I share a slide with you on this? Is that
You can. Hang on one second.
Here we go. So I just like to refer our investors to this slide, where we aim and still looking to be on track to commercialize our first simple to complex or simple application by sometimes mid to the end of 2026. So we expect to generate revenue, but most of this revenue clearly will be from our customer engagement in 2025. We expect to move into this commercialization phase sometimes at the end of 2026. And that's within the plans and with everything that we told our investors so far.
All right. Perfect.
Mina, you want to say something about it or?
Yeah, no
I just want to
changes.
remind, sorry, Eric, I just wanted to remind the audience about what you referred to in the earlier question, that the demonstration unit that we'll be building after the NGP will probably be in the revenue generating territory, right? Not the goal, but we're building a commercial like system that will definitely be processing enough quantity that we could consider generating revenue out of it, and we expect it to do quite well. But from a commercial revenue, like actually with customers and licensing model, we're talking about 2026. And once we have one unit for a specific industry or solution, we expect there to be endless opportunities to replicate. And then we'll add further solutions as we go and then go into replication mode. So it's really when we start, and then we expect to be very, very busy growing that model. But right now, our focus, of course, is getting to market as soon as possible, as soon as realistically possible, and to build a commercial pipeline with very, very significant customers. So when we line up those two things, when we're ready to commercialize, then we have the perfect storm for us down the line.
All right, Eric, the next couple of questions are for you.
Yeah.
Can you explain the new deal with Uponor? They already have companies for PEX recycling. So is there capacity for additional partners under the CEP?
Yeah. Now, first, a little word on Uponor. Uponor has been acquired by a much bigger group, making all sorts of building solutions. But the Uponor has now become a brand in that company. We had done some very exciting screening tests with the old Uponor, which is a company active in Scandinavia mainly. And we had already decided that it smelled like more. And we have seen also, all of you have, that Uponor had publicized about promising results that they got with Neste and Borealis around the pyrolysis track. We are obviously not party to what is happening there. But we do very much know that after that announcement, they were still very enthusiastic to work with us. So there must be a very good reason. And also, I can tell you that what I have seen coming out of that is pretty good, and they like that. And also, their new parent has taken that over, which I see as a big vote of confidence.
Okay, perfect. What are your expectations regarding the number of CEP participants?
The customer engagement program. What we have at this moment, and I think I have been talking about it before, is that we have easily 10 petrochemical houses that have shown interest. That is not changed. The form is different. And some people engage in a long-term strategic collaboration for which they pay substantial money. Others have received samples which we have prepared according to their wishes, and I can tell you they've been very enthusiastic about it. Yet other ones work on different ways. There's different ways how people do engage. What I do find amazing is that wherever I call on someone's door, people are very interested. And the only reason I have heard for one or two to not participate is, well, okay, we would love to, but we don't have the time because there are so many other things to do. But we are easily active at this moment with 10. There is also something very interesting that has happened in the last 3 to 4 months. And that is that we have suddenly gotten a lot of traction with waste management companies. And I think that is because they are realizing that somebody has to make that feedstock. Because as easy as it sounds that you take waste and try to push it through a machine and then out comes a decent feedstock for new petrochemicals, especially these waste management companies now realize that many of the other processes have specifications that are not able to fulfill financially or technically. And we now have a lot of people knocking on our door and say, well, can you please help us to come up with a technology that can take care of what these waste streams, what we get in, and that we can then push to some direction meaningfully. So that is a really hot area. And the other one, and uponor is one of them, these are the niche applications where somebody says, yeah, I have this particular waste stream or I have this particular need, and we see multiple of those. And those are the little gems, I would say. But structurally, ongoing strong interest from the petrochemical boys in different forms, new and rapidly increasing interest from waste management companies, and a continual trickle of all sorts of interesting niche opportunities.
Excellent. Can you provide?
If I can add something
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
what Eric
please.
says, and so when Eric says waste management, there is the motivation was a lot of the motivation was to deal with the traditional pyrolysis activity, and so creating waste for pyrolysis. And so what Eric mentioned is that today there is a shift, and these companies are coming out and moving away and doing the numbers and not very excited about it. And in fact, and if Eric can speak to that as well, yesterday he was in a conference, and I can tell you he could not eat his lunch or drink coffee. There was a very busy line around Aduro. But maybe Eric, maybe you want to say something about Nova.
We were talking, and actually I put my talk now a lot more, not so much about what we are doing, but how we are going to help the total effort of recycling. And if you try to say it simply, you see that there is a lot of technologies, and it is mechanical recycling, it's chemical recycling, and there is only one big problem. They all require high quality waste. Now, it sounds a bit funny, high quality waste, but what I mean by that is relatively pure, relatively unmixed, as something that you can catch. And it is all great that you have chemical technologies and mechanical technologies. But if they are actually only able to deal with the top, say, 25% of the pile, and nobody is taking care of the bottom 75, then we haven't solved the problem. At this moment, there's actually a little storm on the internet where people are heavily debating the use of the word complementarity. And I understand it because if you claim to be contemporary complementary, pardon me. But in the end of the day, you're actually just fighting for that top 25% and you're just leaving alone the 75%. Well, that is precisely what is our difference, because we take that bottom 75, or maybe between 25 and 75, and the last bit is so rubbish that you probably have to incinerate in the end of the day. But that is what triggers people. And I have had, as you say correctly, over you weren't there, but I haven't had 1 minute for myself. It was very, very keen and very interesting to see that this is precisely the big thing at the moment.
All right. Well, then I'm okay with you being really busy. Just sorry.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. You can,
Sure, as long as
you can sleep later and eat later.
This is 11 o'clock in Amsterdam now, Penny. So he's busy.
Yeah.
I know I've already
Yeah.
got you up late at night. So thank you for,
Yeah. No, it's actually quite okay. I kicked out my guest, so that's good.
all right. Can you
No, but
provide,
yes, we are busy, but you see that people realize that you have to look at waste management integrally. And you have to say, okay, how can I minimize my sorting, minimize my hauling? That is why we are happy to have a small scale technology, a technology that can go down to small and go up to big. Because yeah, if you're in North Dakota and you have to sort of hold that limited amount of waste and do something meaningful with it, you need something that works at a small scale. But if you're in Houston, where you just have 4-5 million people bringing their waste, then you need something that's upscalable. All those things are very important. And you have to take everything, because everything that is not cared for must go to costly abatement issue works. And that is what is difficult.
all right. Can you provide me an update on the TotalEnergies collaboration?
Yeah. And obviously what we do together and what we're working on, I think there's many people in the world who would love to know it, and we are obviously having our confidentialities. What I think is safe to say is that this is very much about customization. The big petrochemical industry still has in every company its unique ways to deal, its feedstock specifications, the products that they make. And this is all about perfectly matching the Aduro process to the Total needs. I think it is also fair to say that the collaboration is a true collaboration, very intense. We talk to each other every other week. We learn a lot from Total. Total learns a lot from us. This is everything that I want to see from a strategic collaboration. It also means that we cannot be married with everybody to that extent, but this is just everything that I had hoped for.
All right. So my next question is probably going to be pretty obvious to you, but I'd like to know about the Shell Game Changer collaboration and what milestones you've reached.
Yeah. Now, I think the collaboration that Shell has developed in the Game Changer program is best described as fail quickly. We pay you to fail quickly. It's a screening program, and it is expected normally to take a bit of a year or something like that. What I'm happy to say is that almost after a year, we haven't failed yet. We're still working, we're still answering questions, we're still doing experiments. At some moment in time, we will reach the end of that line, and then we will have to decide about how to continue. That obviously is something that Shell and us are going to decide together, and we will then talk about it. But still very proud. Shell, same story as with Total. We're learning from them every month and how they are different, because we don't tell them, of course, but how we can tune our technology to the need of, in this case, Shell.
Okay, perfect. That's exactly what I want to hear there. So,
Yeah,
Mina, this one's for you. It's just simply, are you planning a year-end webinar like the last one you did in December to discuss the 2024 achievements and 2025 goals?
Yes, what I can say is that we're planning something, but we'll provide further details via public announcement. So do expect a PR to come down the line with a timing and date and some more details once we're ready to go. Most likely will happen in January, but we're working on that right now.
All right. And Eric, you mentioned 10 petrochemical companies monitoring results. Can you elaborate a little bit on the customer pipeline and discuss interest from other multi-billion-dollar companies?
Well, you mean from other petrochemical houses or other companies?
If there's any other multi-billion-dollar company sniffing around, I don't care what industry they're in. I'd love to hear
Yeah.
about it, but
Well, and let's face it, the 10 companies that I just mentioned, and that might be 12, because it goes quite quickly, they are all companies in the order of magnitude of 40 billion or plus. That's the sort of size. But they do many other things. And so they were not going to spend that on us. But that is the typical company that we talk with. What is actually interesting, because they are so large, it is actually challenging for them to operate in these highly dynamic things. And it's the same process that you see in the medical industry, that innovation is very often, call it outsourced to startups, and then they all follow. And each company has its own way to do it. As some people say, oh, we go as deep as Total does. Others say, well, send us your samples and we'll wait for you to have. There's even companies that have a deliberate sit on the fence strategy. And I'm not going to judge any of that. With all of them, we learn and with all we work. On the waste management company, these are not 40 billion companies. They are probably more in the up to 10 billion companies. But that's precisely what they have. We are talking to one of the largest plastic waste collectors in Germany. We're talking about one of the largest in France. We're talking to one of the largest in the Netherlands. But we're also talking to one of the largest in the United States. And they are actively working with us. And it makes me humble and modest to see that such big companies are actually interested in what we are doing.
you and me both. I think I can speak for a lot of investors that as we've been on this, we've been following and watching the company grow, and we've been,
Yeah.
personally invested, financially
Yeah.
and otherwise, just, really invested in the story. It's great to see a company, at least for me, that you saw pre-IPO,
Yeah.
having uplisted to the NASDAQ and having serious interests in the technology. It is so nice to see. And I'm sure it's even more enjoyable on that side where you have all those details
Yeah.
and you see it actually happening. So I'm super excited. I doubt
Yeah.
anybody doesn't already know that, but
Vinny, I'd like
Yeah.
to add something here, if you don't mind. I mean, Eric mentioned those petrochemical or non companies, and you mentioned later, the fact that you see us growing, and you're happy to see that there is an interest. But I do want to refer the investors to our 2024 goals, and one of them was us doing patents. The other one was us moving and doing the design of the unit, finishing the design, and the other one was increasing, moving from discussions and moving them into collaboration, our customers that we're talking to. Why I mentioned that? Because in each one of them, our intention was to do something meaningful to the company that will either add value, create additional opportunity, advance the company one way or the other. And so the course of the year, we're super happy to speak with those interested organization, but we're also working step by step. So, and you are, as you mentioned, follow it from birth and until now, to continue and add opportunities to the companies in many directions, de-risk the company, and our work in 2024 summarize all of that. And of course, very important chunk of it is our customer engagement.
all right. Well, over this next question's for you. It is just simply, are you also going to be testing bitumen and heavy crude?
Yes, of course. We're testing. So the guys that I mentioned today, actually, they're testing bitumen right now. So bitumen is very different in a way, process to the plastic. And we are learning as we speak, day in and day out, and we are actively working and testing our unit. We're generating data and we're generating material, and we are under with relationship with one of the largest organization, heavy oil organization in Canada. I'd like to remind that to our investor as well. But I also mentioned that this industry is very experienced, and we do not want to market anything without have concrete data. And we have learned a lot in the last year about the bitumen. And so time coming when it will be appropriate, we will generate the data and show the results. And so this is active path that we're taking right now, and it is very active, actually.
Okay.
Penny, I just wanted to add something critical as well. I think just connecting some of the dots here. With regards to our customer engagement, whether it's on the plastic or the bitumen side of things, having a very robust pipeline, and I think you could tell from what Ofer and Eric are saying, the interest is tremendous and it's very, very significant. It remains very solid. It gets better and better every day as our footprint as a company expands globally and we get out there in a meaningful way, whether it's through conferences or through our PRs. But companies are going to engage at different stages. It doesn't mean that our relationship is any less strong if a customer or potential customer wants to engage on the pilot rather than on the R1s and R2s that we have running right now with other engagements. So it depends on the stage of where they want to jump in, whether they want to watch what we do with others. But the pipeline remains very, very robust. The timeline when we start with one or another is something that is part strategy for us and partly strategy for them. But I want to say it's a very healthy pipeline. All our discussions so far with our engaged customers have gone tremendously well. The work we're doing has gone tremendously well. We expect similar results with others that come down the pipeline. But we as a company don't really want to push it either because we have another focal point, which is scale up, right? So we want to balance the scale up with our engagement and line everything up at the commercialization stage. So we do want to show progress clearly to our investor base and our shareholders and our stakeholders. It means a lot to us and to them. But it all has to come to this one critical point down the line, right? And that's what we're preparing for.
And it's fair to say, Mina, that our attention right now is the commercialization. It's the pilot that we're putting attention in.
The
Correct.
scaling, yeah, I think that's the right word.
Super important.
That remains a primary goal right here. Everybody
Yeah.
wants us to get out there and and commercialize. So that's what we're doing. Our engagement was partly so we solidified that pipeline, but also show our shareholders and our stakeholders that we have something special here and that's unique, right? Because they don't have the technical background to be able to quantify that. So they could see it through the eyes of who we're engaging with. So that is quite important as well as we go down this pathway.
Right, Mina, I just want to say congratulations on the uplist. I'm sure you played a very heavy hand in how that went down. But can you share some insight on the decision to move from the New York Stock Exchange to the NASDAQ?
Yes, and I thank you for that. It was a major milestone for the company. It was a culmination of many months of hard work across the board. Myself, the rest of the team, our legal counsel, our bankers. There's been quite a bit of work that's gone into this thing. I think people underestimate what it takes to get on a U.S. major exchange. But to answer your question, we had initially applied to the NYSE, the New York Stock Exchange, at which time we filed the initial F1. Subsequently, a few weeks later, we made the decision to also apply to the NASDAQ. And of course, as everybody knows, we finally concluded that it was the best fit for the company. So we didn't really move from one to the other. Rather, it was a matter of sequence of events and regulatory guidelines around what we could disclose and when. So when we filed that F1, we could only disclose the matter of fact, which we applied to the NYSE, and there was no other opportunity to disclose the NASDAQ application that happened subsequently. And of course, we saw the questions coming down the line from our shareholders, but there's nothing really we could have done about it. There was no opportunity for us to disclose any other updates until we actually were, concluded on the NASDAQ with the subsequent F1 filing. So, you can't really go wrong with either exchange. They're both significant places for any company to be on. But we considered every possible aspect in making this decision, and we think that this was the right call for the company, for the sector, and for the shareholders.
Okay. Can you share at all who participated in the NASDAQ uplisting, like retail, small funds?
I can say it was a mix of all of the above, but I cannot disclose any specifics, unfortunately.
Fair enough, and kind of what I expected, but it is good to know that there's a mix there. And I can say, as I've been watching it, that trading, the volume has been intense. There was absolutely interest on the US side. And I've been saying for a long time that this is going to be, as far as trading goes, primarily an American story. And I mean, you see that from the volume. There's still healthy volume in the Canadian market, but there's just so much more opportunity to trade on the US side. I mean, a lot of people that, we've been talking about Aduro, and on the OTC, a lot of people just simply can't buy it. So I am super excited. Even for me, it opened up a lot more reserve capital that, I couldn't put in the company before. So I'm happy.
Absolutely. And you know what, Penny, I think the important thing to notice is this is not viewed as the end goal for us, right? Listing on the NASDAQ, getting in front of major US shareholders, getting access to even internationally for those that are located in Europe and outside of North America, I had a little bit of difficulty accessing the stock. So we take this as a first stepping stone for us to go out there in a material way and approach European investors and US-based investors and tell the story. So this is really just us getting started. This is not really the the end goal. Of course, we took a week or two of a slight step back after several months of nonstop work, but we're gonna get back at it quite soon.
Perfect. All right. And now, Eric, you recently said that you were confident that the technology will readily scale.
Yeah.
Can you just explain why you're so confident right now?
If you allow me a little bit of nerdy technical stuff, and if I go over the top, you tell me. If you're trying to do something with plastic, you probably can compare it what you do at home if you are cooking porridge. Something thick, something difficult. And what is the issue? When you're cooking porridge, it's not difficult. But if you do not watch out, it just burns. It chars. And it is precisely that problem that if you go bigger with plastics and you have to heat a bigger kettle of porridge, you get more and more difficulty to get all that heat into that viscous mix and to get it agitated and stirred. We call it mass transfer and heat transfer. Those are the central problems in scaling any process that you are doing with plastic recycling, because you're trying to cook it to pieces. And that's difficult. And there have been various very creative solutions. What we have discovered that our unique chemistry, and especially the temperature where it happens, makes it possible to use certain standard industrial equipment that is just perfect for that challenge. And that makes it believe to me that if I go bigger with that equipment, we know it. It has been done by others before. And the scale-up rules, as we engineers call it, are known. And that is different from the routes that most other people have chosen or have been forced to choose because their particular chemistry is only working in different circumstances. And that is a new learning for me, and that is why it is so good to do all these laboratory investigations and pilot tests, because it certainly makes you realize that you're actually on a track that has a lot of intrinsic benefits, because the upscaling is not that difficult, and that is why I also dare to take bigger steps. And that sounds a very technical story from somebody with a commercial role, but okay, you have to excuse me from starting out life as an engineer, and that is also why I can be so confident.
Okay.
It's fair to say that there is less byproduct, that we don't push the...
That also helps, yes, that also helps. Yeah? Because byproduct means additional processing. And additional processing means more integration, more loops, more recycle loops, and they all make life difficult. So it is simple, and it is pretty straightforward what we're doing. And my lips are itching to tell more, but I can of course not do that because we are on our way to protect our inventions here. But I think when the world will see it, it's going to be impressive.
And also maybe worth to say that it's, lower energy. And lower energy means
There's an additional benefit, but that is not so much a scaling issue. But yes, it uses less energy. Yeah, that helps.
But that means you don't push lower heat, lower temperature. You push things less to the boundaries and things of that. So there's a combination there. You see, Penny, that allows us
yeah. The scaling is really related to how we think we can do it, and very credible indeed.
All right. Well, is there anything else any of you would like to add before we go?
I'm very great. I like the quality of the questions, I would say. And actually, I find it even encouraging that people endeavor to ask these more technical questions. I see that as a big sign of interest and appreciation for what we're doing. And I like it. So thanks a lot, but also thanks for the detail on the financial side and the others.
Absolutely. Yeah, the quality of your shareholders is pretty apparent by the questions that come in, that they're actually thinking about this, looking, and they're making sure that they tend their investment well. So I'm happy to see that.
Very involved. Yeah, very engaged. I'm impressed.
Agreed. And we appreciate you, Penny, for giving us the platform to receive these questions and concerns from investors and allowing us to address them. We've maintained a pretty significant culture of transparency. We want to give guidance as much as we possibly can. There's so much we can't really say that has to come out publicly when something happens in the future, and it's more event driven. But we do want to dive as deep as we possibly can with the information that's already out there, so everybody has a pretty good understanding of what to watch for and how to track the story going forward.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you all for joining me today. I will get this video put together and we'll hopefully get it out to shareholders over this weekend. So
lovely.
Thanks,
you
Penny.
Again. Yes, I'm still waiting to see you in real life.
Okay, I'll get out there. You're a little farther though. I miss you.
I'm a bit farther, but I'm in Canada every now and then. So
all right, I'll catch you up there.